Why the ultra-wealthy prefer fewer destinations, not more. Today we examine why many ultra-wealthy travelers choose fewer destinations, not more, and why at the highest levels of wealth, depth has replaced volume as the true marker of luxury. Most people equate travel with accumulation. More countries, more cities, more stamps in a passport. But abundance changes desire. When access is unlimited, volume loses meaning. Selectivity becomes the signal. Psychology explains this shift through diminishing marginal utility. The first extraordinary trip delivers intense novelty. The 10th similar trip delivers less. The 100th delivers even less. As wealth increases, the emotional return on more declines. So refinement replaces accumulation. For high-net-worth individuals, life is often lived under a state of extreme time compression. This isn't merely about having a busy schedule. It's about the immense weight of consequence packed into every single hour. Their calendars are not just dense. They are strategic battle plans, filled with back-to-back board meetings, high-stakes negotiations and critical portfolio reviews. Each entry represents a significant demand on their focus and intellect. Their decisions are constant, flowing one into the next without pause. From multi-million-dollar capital allocations to philanthropic commitments that affect thousands of lives, the cognitive load is relentless. This creates a persistent state of high alert, a mental posture where the mind is always calculating, always optimizing, always performing. It's a life defined by executive function. When the time for leisure finally arrives, it carries a profound mandate. Travel cannot become another performance of efficiency, another domain to be conquered and optimized. It must offer a genuine antidote to the pressures of their daily existence. It must become restoration. Yet the conventional model of luxury tourism often fails this mandate. Multi-destination itineraries designed to showcase breadth inadvertently introduce the very friction these individuals seek to escape. The grand tour of 5 cities in 10 days becomes a whirlwind of logistical hurdles, each one chipping away at the potential for true rest. Consider the friction points. First, the airports. Each one is a gauntlet of queues, security protocols, and sensory overload. Even with the buffer of a first-class lounge, the underlying stress of transit, the risk of delays, the impersonal nature of the environment remains. It is an inherently taxing experience. Then come the transitions. Packing and unpacking, checking in and checking out. The constant movement between car, terminal, aircraft and hotel. Each transition is a small project in itself, a sequence of tasks that, while minor, accumulate into a significant burden. It's the administrative labor of travel. This necessitates constant logistical coordination. Even when delegated to an assistant or a travel advisor, the traveler remains the ultimate manager of the project. They must hold the mental map of flight numbers, pick-up times, and reservation details. This mental juggling act keeps the mind in its familiar high-performance mode, preventing it from downshifting into a state of relaxation. And with every new city comes the repeated orientation to new environments. Where is the light switch? How does the shower work? What is the Wi-Fi password? Which way to the gym? Each new hotel room, no matter how luxurious, is an unfamiliar space that requires a fresh cognitive map. This process of discovery, while seemingly trivial, consumes mental energy. Each of these shifts from one airport to the next, one hotel to the next, demands cognitive energy. And for an individual whose professional life already operates at a cognitive deficit, this energy is an exceptionally scarce and precious resource. Behavioral economics gives this phenomenon a name: decision fatigue. The theory posits that our capacity for making sound judgments is a finite resource, like a muscle that tires with overuse. Every choice we make, from the monumental to the mundane, depletes our executive function. The more decisions you make, the more your ability to regulate impulses and make rational trade-offs degrades. This is why the most discerning affluent travellers are increasingly choosing to extend their stays in a single, carefully chosen location. By committing to one place, they perform a crucial act of subtraction. They eliminate the endless, unnecessary decision cycles inherent in multi-stop travel. The daily questions of where next and how do we get there simply vanish. The cognitive energy once spent on logistics is now freed, available for deeper forms of engagement and genuine rest. The mind, finally relieved of its managerial duties, can begin the slow and vital process of unwinding. This isn't about laziness. It's a highly strategic choice to conserve and replenish the most valuable asset of all: mental clarity. They reduce transitions. They preserve clarity. Longer stays allow systems to stabilize. The staff learns preferences. The environment becomes familiar. The nervous system downshifts. Luxury in this form becomes predictable. Predictability becomes calm. Depth also strengthens emotional regulation. Immersive stays provide space for reflection, for sleep normalization, for quiet routines, for mental recentering. This is not tourism. It is recalibration. Place attachment begins to form. Repeated presence builds identity connection. A coastline becomes more than scenery. When a journey is repeated, not out of obligation but by choice, something profound happens. The simple act of returning to a cherished place, walking the same path, feeling the same sand underfoot, it transcends mere repetition. It becomes continuity. This is the quiet luxury of creating a personal history with a location, weaving a thread that connects your past self with your present. Each return adds another layer, deepening the connection, transforming a destination from a point on a map into a chapter in your own life story. And so a villa becomes more than accommodation. It ceases to be a temporary shelter and evolves into a personal sanctuary, a second home where the architecture of the space aligns with the architecture of your peace. The way the morning light filters through a specific window, the familiar scent of jasmine from the garden, the weight of a particular door handle in your hand, these sensory details are anchors. They ground you in a state of being that is both restorative and deeply personal, a feeling of belonging that cannot be replicated in a new environment, no matter how luxurious. This continuity gives birth to something even more essential. It becomes rhythm. The day is no longer a series of decisions to be made, but a flow to be entered. The morning coffee on the terrace, the afternoon swim as the sun begins to dip, the evening ritual of reading a few pages before sleep. These are not mundane routines. They are deliberate, chosen cadences that structure the day around well-being, not obligation. This rhythm is a form of quiet control, an antidote to the chaotic pace of modern life. This rhythm reinforces self-concept. In a world that constantly demands we adapt and perform, these personal rituals in a familiar setting allow for a moment of pure self-recognition. Looking in the mirror, you see not a traveller weary from transit, but a person at ease, centred and whole. This stability provides the foundation from which true exploration can begin, not of new places, but of one's own inner landscape. For many affluent travellers, these curated experiences are identity markers. They are not about collecting passport stamps or ticking off a list for others to see. They are not public displays for social validation. They are the building blocks of our internal narratives, the story we tell ourselves about ourselves. This is where depth creates stories. A single, meaningful week spent returning to a beloved place generates a richer narrative than a month spent rushing through a dozen cities. Because volume creates noise. An endless stream of newness eventually becomes a blur, each experience cancelling out the last, leaving behind a sense of fatigue rather than fulfillment. Culturally, this reflects a broader shift in the definition of luxury, a move away from conspicuous accumulation and toward intentional refinement. It's the understanding that true wealth isn't about having more, but about experiencing more deeply. Earlier eras equated wealth with expansion, more land, more possessions, more territory covered. Today, for a discerning few, it is equated with concentration, the luxury of focus, of depth, and of a rhythm that is entirely one's own. More properties, more visibility, more destinations. Modern elite culture increasingly values restraint. Fewer exposures, more curation, less broadcasting. Exclusivity increases when exposure decreases. Scarcity amplifies value. The less accessible something feels, the more meaningful it becomes. This principle applies to destinations as well. Selectivity now signals discernment. Anyone can travel frequently, but not everyone can afford to slow down, to stay longer, to engage deeply. Novelty-seeking once defined status. Now control defines it. The ability to choose depth over distraction signals maturity of wealth. Experiential depth also protects attention. Frequent novelty fragments focus. Constant stimulation prevents integration. Longer stays allow meaning to accumulate. Moments connect. Memory strengthens. Inconspicuous consumption reinforces this pattern. Rather than visible extravagance, affluent travellers invest in quiet immersion, private access, cultural depth, unrepeatable environments. The value lies in what is not public. Abundance creates a paradox. When everything is possible, not everything is valuable. Restraint becomes sophistication. Fewer destinations, longer stays, greater intentionality. To the uninitiated, this deliberate narrowing of focus might appear as a form of self-imposed constraint, a closing of doors. But this is not limitation. It is refinement. It is the conscious, discerning choice to trade the frantic collection of passport stamps for the quiet accumulation of genuine understanding. It is the art of curation applied not to objects but to life itself. The understanding that true abundance isn't measured in quantity but in the profound quality of our attention. Because of this, the very definition of luxury travel has evolved. The old paradigm, a relic of conspicuous consumption, no longer holds the same allure. True luxury no longer asks the breathless competitive question of a bygone era. How many places have you been? Instead, it poses a far more introspective, more meaningful inquiry. It asks, how deeply did you experience the one you chose? This question shifts the entire axis of value. It probes beyond the superficial, beyond the photograph and the itinerary. It asks if you felt the rhythm of the city, not just saw its landmarks. Did you learn the name of the morning baker? Did you understand the story behind a local tradition, or simply observe it from a distance? Did you allow the place to change you, even in some small, imperceptible way? This is the new currency of sophisticated travel. As our external wealth evolves and provides us with limitless options, our internal compass must evolve alongside it. So, yes, as wealth evolves, so does travel. The frantic pursuit of more gives way to the calm pursuit of better. Accumulation gives way to selectivity. Novelty gives way to meaning. And constant, restless movement gives way to the profound luxury of presence. At the highest levels, luxury is not expansion, it is precision.